Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste. On page 177, Kapila Muni curses Sagar's sons. Viraja's son, Sagar, remember Viraja and Krishna had a son named Sagar, grew into one of the strongest kings of Ayodhya. He had dominion over the entire earth. One time when he was performing the Ashwamedh, this horse sacrifice, Indra came and stole the horse. Sagar's sons immediately chased after him. Indra fled with the stolen horse and left it tied to the gate of Kapila Muni's ashram. When Sagar's sons reached the ashram, they found the stolen horse tied to the gate. Entering into the ashram, they began to abuse Kapila Muni. Why did you steal our father's horse? You have disrupted the sacrifice, which is certainly not the conduct befitting a Brahmin. Now we shall punish you and take back our father's horse. Kapila Muni became very angry and said, I didn't steal your father's horse. Why are you barging into my ashram and disturbing my meditation? I don't know anything about your horse. The boy said, that is a highly unlikely story, Muniji. Here is the horse right here. Now we are going to punish you. Not only are you a thief, but you're also a liar. Here you are caught with the stolen horse, and still you deny any knowledge. Certainly you will be punished severely for this misbehavior. Kapila Muni said, you doubt the word of a Brahmin? I said I didn't steal your horse. I told you I know nothing about your horse, and still you are insulting me and insisting on punishing me? You are not believing the word of a Brahmin? I curse you! He picked up some water in his hand, and he pronounced the curse, and throwing the water at the boys, all the 60,000 sons of Sagar were immediately turned into ashes. Just see the ashes. When Sagar heard the news of the death of his sons, he began to cry. Leaving his sacrifice, he retired into the forest to do tapasya. After some time, Rama came to him, give him darshan, and asked Sagar, why was he practicing tapasya? And Sagar inquired, how can I be reunited with my sons? Brahma said, you will take birth as the ocean, and when Ganga comes to the earth, she will marry you. When she rushes forward to mix her waters with yours, she will pass the spot where the ashes of your sons now lie. Being touched by her purifying waters, the souls of your sons will attain salvation, and the remains of their ashes will be brought to you in the sea. Sagar was extremely pleased with this news, and he began to perform even greater tapasya in order to ask Ganga to come to the earth. He was not successful in his lifetime, and leaving his human form, Sagar took birth as the ocean. His successor, Ansuman, continued the tapasya to bring Ganga to the earth, but he too was unable to complete that objective. Ansuman was followed by Dilip. Dilip too performed tapasya for the same purpose, but he too was unsuccessful. Dilip's son was Bhagirath, who also performed tapasya to bring Ganga down to the earth. He stood on his 1 foot reciting Ganga's mantras throughout thousands of years. Oblivious to the rain, the wind, the sleet, or the snow, Bhagirath continued his discipline without fail. Daily he used to recite the excellent hymn of praise to Ganga, which was composed by Narayana himself with intense devotion. Shiva Sangita Samudra Sri Krishnanga Samudbapa Radanga Drava Sanyutam Tam Gangam Pranamyam Yajanma Srishke Radhacha Goloke Rasmandale Sanidande Shankarasya Tam Gangam Pranamyam. Enchanted by the singing of Shiva, Sri Krishna and Radha were bathing in the perspiration of their union. To that Ganga, born of that sweat, I bow down in obeisance. Whose birth took place at Radha's festival of sentiments, the Rasa, in the regions of light, Golok, who always resides with Shankar. To that Ganga, I bow down with obeisance. Brahma was so pleased with Bhagirath's devotion that he came and awarded the desired boon. Ganga will come down to the earth and wash away the sins of man. But she will come down to earth with such force that she will wash away the earth itself. Brahma said, call upon Lord Shiva to marry with Ganga. From that union he will be able to take some of the force away from her so that her falling to the earth will not destroy the creation. Then Bhagirath began a great tapasya for Lord Shiva, and after thousands of years Shiva was pleased and gave the vision to grant the boon. Shiva, please take Ganga as your wife, unite with her and take away her force so that she does not destroy creation. Shiva agreed to marry her and to take her waters onto his own head in order to let them come down to earth at a lesser speed. Then Ganga could fall to earth without washing away all of creation. Then Brahma said to Ganga, everything is arranged. You will marry Shiva as Narayan has spoken. Also, you will have to go down to earth and wash away the sins of men according to the curse of Saraswati. And then you will unite with Sagar, the ocean, and together you will purify and nourish the earth. So that was the boon that Ganga received, that she would marry with Sagar, she would marry with Shiva, and she would marry with Narayan. And she fulfills all of those three criteria. But, objective Ganga, if I go down to earth to wash away the sins of men, then my waters will become polluted. Certainly I will become foul and an object of hatred and scorn for all. If I purify the sins of man, who will purify me? Then Brahma thought for a moment and replied, as many sadhus and pure souls who come to your banks and sing the names of the Divine Mother or of Krishna or Ram or Shiva or any other names of the divine, their divine chanting will purify your waters and make them the object of greatest respect. In fact, no puja will be complete without the offering of your waters. No matter where worship is being performed, your presence will be invoked. Gange cha jamana cheva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhin Kuru. Then Ganga was very happy and she agreed to Brahma's arrangements. Bali and the Vaman Avatar. Once upon a time, there was an asura named Bali. He was an extremely dharmic and truthful man, even though he was an asura, and a representative of the forces of duality. He observed the code of ethics and stood by his word with the steadfastness of truth and honor. At this time, he was making the sacrifice by which he would become Lord of the earth. He was doing a great tapasya, which was frightening to all of the gods, and all of the gods assembled together and said, if Bali becomes the Lord of the earth, then he will make everyone on earth neglect us gods and worship the forces of division. You must do something to stop this tapasya. You know Siva, you know Brahma, even Vishnu is liable to give him the boon of his choice if he does not waver in his sadhana. We must find a way to disrupt this yajna and to make sure his worship is without fruit. The gods went to Vaikuntha, the home of Lord Vishnu. After singing a great hymn of praise to Lord Vishnu, the gods said, "O Lord, Bali is doing a yajna by which he can become the Lord of the earth. We must find a way to stop him. If he is successful, he will teach mankind not to worship the gods, and he won't stop until everyone is so tangled up in the webs of karma that they will all say, 'Who has time for worship or meditation?' Please help us, Lord." Vishnu thought for a moment and then replied, "I've got an idea. Certainly, I can put a stop to the threat of Bali's taking over the earth. Gods, I shall help you in your purpose." Bali was sitting by the sacrificial fire, offering the mantras by which he could attain his desired objective. Vishnu assumed the Vaman Avatar, the form of a dwarf. He was dressed as a Brahmin, wearing a mala of sacred beads around his neck. He was shining with the light of tapasya, radiant with light, and he walked into the sacrificial area beside the blazing fire. Everyone was completely amazed. The light of the little dwarf was even greater than that which emanated from the sacred fire. When Bali saw the radiance of the guest who had come to bless his sacrifice, in majestic tones he welcomed the dwarf and thanked him for giving the blessing of his presence. "Ask me for a boon," he submitted in kingly fashion. The dwarf, Vaman, replied, "I am so pleased with the devotion you are showing in this sacrifice. I have every intention of blessing you with the highest attainment. You see, I am a poor Brahmin, and I need a piece of land of my own where I can maintain my body. Though this body is small, whenever I sit to perform some great tapasya, someone might come along and cause me to vacate the space which I have been occupying. O king, if you would like to grant me one boon, then please give me a little space to keep my body." The king Bali replied, "I am the king of the nation, ruler of the largest lands and estates. When I complete this sacrifice, I am going to be the Lord of the earth. I will have at my command villages, towns, cities, countries. Yes, even nations obey my every order. You choose any amount of land that you want, and I shall grant it to you for sure." Then the Vaman Avatar thought for a moment and said, "O king, you can see that I am not a very large man. Dwarf. Really, I am quite small. I am a Brahmin, and my karma makes me meditative, and I only want to practice tapasya. I don't have the temperament to be the chief of a village, or to run the administration of a town, or even to govern cities or states, not to think of nations or empires. I I just want enough land so I can sit in my asana in meditation without being disturbed. O king, please give me that much land as my foot covers 3 times. I ask you for 3 steps of land. The king said, Holy Brahman, I am the ruler of nations, about to become the lord of the entire earth. Ask for villages for your sustenance. Ask for great tracts of land for your ashram. Ask for cities for your devotees. You can have whole areas of mountains, lakes, fields blooming with the abundance of nature. What will you do with 3 steps of land? Please excuse me, king. I just need a place to put my body. I am not concerned with storing up treasures for the future. I am a Brahmin. My only job is to worship God, not to run countries or cities of men. Now, if you want to grant me my wish, allow me to pace off 3 steps of land, and that will be my place. The king went to his minister to seek his advice. He said, Minister, a Brahmin has come, radiant with a shining aura. I asked him to choose a boon for me, and he asked for 3 steps of land to call his own, so he could do tapasya without fear of being disturbed. I told him to take a whole village, or even many villages, or any amount he liked. He replied that he is a Brahmin and he wants to do tapasya. He does not want to be burdened with the administration of other people's lives. He is not a tax collector, nor a banker, nor a politician. All he wants is a space of his own where no one has the right to disturb him in his meditation. What do you think? The minister replied, Don't trust him. There is something funny about all of this. No one has controlled his greed to such an extent. Don't do it. The king said, I already gave my word that I would give him any amount of land that he would like, and I am bound by that promise. If I don't fulfill my promise, and if I turn out to be a liar, I will lose all the merits that I hope to attain by this sadhana. So I am really obligated to give him the 3 steps of land. The minister said, if you commit some sin, it is possible to make atonement. So if you commit the sin of not fulfilling the promise of your vow, then you can make atonement for him, but don't give him 3 steps of land. Something is not right. The king said, I am very much afraid to incur the wrath of a Brahmin by denying the promise that I have already given. He might curse me in his anger and put me into a worse position than I am in right now. I think I had better give it to him. The minister took his leave with great reluctance. The king returned to the Brahmin and said, Okay, radiant Brahmin, I concede your wish. Choose the 3 steps of land as you desire. Suddenly, the dwarf form of Lord Vishnu began to grow in immensity until his foot covered the entire earth. And he said, This is my first step. All the earth belongs to me. And he kicked his foot up into the air, and that foot permeated the furthest reaches of the heavens. And he said, This is my second step. All the heavens belong to me. And he turned to the king Bali and he said, Oh king, with my first step, all the earth belonged to me. And with my second step, all the heavens belong to me. Where else is remaining for me to put my third step? What is left for me to claim as my own? Bali the king bowed to the feet of Lord Vishnu and pointing to the top of his own head said, "Right here, my lord, please put your foot on my head." Then Vishnu put his foot on Bali's head, and that too became the property of the Lord. Well, when Vishnu's foot went up through the heavens and went through to the other side of infinity, Brahma was sitting up there in his residence in the Satyaloka. He was contemplating and singing the Vedas when suddenly the foot came right through the edge of infinity and entered into the Satyaloka, whereupon Brahma exclaimed, "Oh my goodness, it's Vishnu's foot! What a wonderful blessing!" And he took his kamandalu, filled with the waters of Ganga, and he began to pour those pure waters over Vishnu's foot in an offering of hospitality, which is the duty of any householder. As he washed Vishnu's foot, the waters came dripping down, and Ganga took flight through the cosmos. She came off from Vishnu's feet and she started to gain velocity in her trip down to the earth. She passed by the 7 rishis, remember, who were meditating in the heavens, the constellation of the Big Dipper, Vashishta, Vishwamitra, Gautam, Bharadwaj, Atreya, Jamadagni, and Kashyap. The Saptarishi is the Big Dipper. She washed past them, all of them, and none of the rishis could slow down her force. She kept on coming with such speed that they all feared they would be washed away by her, so they sent her over to Dhruv, the North Star or Pole Star. Dhruv exclaimed in terror, "Help! I can't stop the force of that rushing water." By now, Ganga was falling at tremendous velocity, and so, as she was so strong, everyone ran from her path in terror. She will wash away anything in her way. No one can stop Ganga. They all began to pray, "Shiva, please take Ganga as your wife, unite with her and take away the force of her power. Then send her down to the earth in a nice way, so she doesn't create any harm." Then Shiva ascended. "Okay, I'll come and save the universe." Fearlessly, he took his seat right in the middle of Ganga's path and let her fall right onto his head. Hitting his head, the force was broken and she spilled over and came down to the earth in order to fulfill the blessing given to Bhagirath. And that is why one of her names is Bhagirati. She was come from Bhagirath. Gliding over the earth, she washed all the sins of men away. In her course down from the mountains, she nourished and purified the earth. As she crossed the plains and wandered across the great land of Bharat, the land where the light of wisdom always shines, she came across the ashes of the 60,000 sons of Sagar, the ocean, who were burned to death by the curse of Kapila Muni. As soon as her purifying waters touched those ashes, all the souls of those sons were liberated and rose up into heaven. Ganga picked up the ashes of those sons and carried them to the ocean. When the ocean saw that Ganga was coming and carrying the ashes of all his departed sons, his heart leapt with joy. He was so happy. He remembered the boon he had received of being able to marry with Ganga, and he accepted his beloved wife and allowed her to mix her waters with his in loving embrace. Vedavati Curses Ravana. Kapila Muni had a son named Vishrash. Joya and Bijoya took their third incarnation as the sons of Vishravas and his wife Kesini. They were known by the names of Ravan and Kumbhakarna. They had a third brother named Vibhishan, who was dharmic by nature and a great devotee of the Lord. The three brothers went off to perform severe austerities to propitiate the Lord Brahma for the attainment of powers. At last, Brahma came and advised them to request boons. Ravan was granted 10 heads, so he would be invincible to the gods, and he could become the ruler over the earth and heaven. Kumbhakarna desired Indra's seat on the throne of heaven, but Indra prayed to the goddess Saraswati to please sit on his tongue, and in the place of Indra's seat, he requested Nidra's seat, meaning he will always remain asleep. At Ravan's request, Brahma allowed that Kumbhakarna could be awakened for one day, and then he would go back to sleep again. Vibhishan asked for eternal devotion to the feet of Rama. With the strength of these boons, the demons took over the rule of heaven and earth. Ravan commanded his forces to oppress the followers of Dharma, and the demon armies subdued all the gods, rishis, and sadhus, and made all subservient to the throne of Lanka. Then Ravan took all the treasures of the three worlds for himself and took pride in causing pain to all who followed the path of truth. The very name Ravan means to cause to cry. The king, Rashvaraman, had a son named Kushadhwaj. The goddess Lakshmi herself took birth in his house and was named Vedavati, the embodiment of wisdom. When Vedavati became a young lady, she took blessings from her father, Kushadhwaj, and went into the forest to perform tapasya. She chanted divine mantras with the most sincere devotion and became beautiful with the radiant aura of her austerities. One day, Ravan saw the beautiful Vedavati and became stricken by passion. He grabbed her by her arm and proudly said, "I am Ravan, the causer of sorrow to the gods. I am the ruler of heaven and earth and the possessor of all things beautiful. Therefore, you come with me to become an ornament of my palace." Vedavati replied in anguish, "Sinner, I am a pure woman and cannot be made the object of your lust. You have defiled my body with your impure touch. Thus, I cannot bear to wear this contaminated body any longer, but I promise that I will return to become the cause of your destruction." So saying, Vedavati dissolved her body in the fire of meditation, as did Sati leave her body before Daksha's yajna. The evil king Ravan demanded exorbitant taxes from all the citizens of the universe. Even the gods sent a tribute of taxes to Lanka. Then Ravan sent messengers to the rishis, telling them to pay their taxes. The rishis replied that they owned no property and therefore were unable to pay. Ravan still demanded his taxes, whereupon the rishis declared that the only thing they had which is their own is their blood. Therefore they split their bodies and extracted blood to send to the king. They put all of the blood into a container which they gave to Ravan, and Ravan left the container in the custody of his wife, Mandodari. He instructed his wife not to eat of the contents of that container as it contains poison, but out of curiosity she disobeyed her husband and tasted the blood of the rishis. Immediately she became pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. Fearing her husband's anger, she placed the newborn child back into the container from which he had taken the blood. Hearing of the Rishi's curse that this blood will cause desolation to the country wherever it is kept, Ravan sent the container to be buried in the land of Mithila in order to cause the destruction of King Janak, an ardent upholder of Dharma. The box was buried in a field in Janak's land, and severe drought ensued in the land. The citizens suffered great hardships due to want for water, and the Brahmins instructed the king to perform a yajna in order to bring the rain. During the yajna, the king plowed a field to the chanting of Vedic mantras, and while the bullocks were pulling the plow head, called the seat, became lodged in some strong, solid substance beneath the earth, beneath the surface. When the ministers uncovered the obstruction, they found the container which housed the infant child. Thereafter, Janak named the girl Sita, she who has manifested from the seat, and taking the baby home, he raised her as his home. Meanwhile, all of creation cried out for a deliverer from the oppression of Ravana. Narad's curse. One day, Narada was roaming in the Himalayas when he came upon a beautiful stream. The sight of the mountains and the rivers, the forests of trees, filled him with inspiration, and he sat down and began to meditate upon the Lord. Fearing that the celestial sage was about to usurp his authority, Indra sent the god of love along with his accomplices to try to disturb the meditating Muni. The god of love tried with his every capacity to excite the mind of the meditating Muni, but Narada was so deeply attuned that he could not be disturbed. Recognizing his defeat, the god of love fell at Narada's feet and begged forgiveness. Narada, who was undisturbed by the matter, gave his blessings, and love returned to heaven to tell Indra and all the gods about what happened. Everyone in heaven was amazed, and all praised the sage and Lord Vishnu upon whom he was meditating. Thereafter, Narada went to see Lord Shiva and told him all about this experience of defeating love. Shiva replied, "This is wonderful that you have told me, Narada, but don't ever let Vishnu hear of this incident." Narada assented and took his leave. It was some time after this occasion when Narada happened to meet Lord Vishnu. Vishnu inquired about Narada's adventures and what was new in his life, and without thinking or remembering the words of Lord Shiva, Narada proceeded to narrate the entire affair. Vishnu immediately apprehended that pride had welled up in Narada's heart. No one can defeat love except Shiva. One may win a small battle, but only Shiva can attain to victory. Then Vishnu thought, "I must root out this egotism from my devotee's heart." Then the Lord set his Maya into operation. King Silanidhi had a beautiful daughter named Vishwamohini. One day Narada went to visit the king, whereupon the king introduced this beautiful daughter to Narada and asked, "What will be her future?" The sage looked at the girl and understood, "Whoever will wed this girl shall become immortal." He will be adored by all of creation for all time. Then Narada told the king that the girl is nice and her future will be okay. Narada left and he thought, I must devise some plan by which this girl will choose me as her husband. I know. I'll ask Lord Vishnu to make me the most handsome man. I will go to her Swayamvara with Vishnu's blessing, and surely Vishwamohini will choose me. Narada went to Vaikuntha and sang a hymn of praise to Lord Vishnu. Vishnu said, you seem to be somewhat anxious, Narada. What is the cause of this disruption of your peace? Lord Vishnu, answered Narada, I have fallen in love with a beautiful princess. She is to be married soon, and I have come to get your blessing, so I will be the most handsome man at her Swayamvara, and Vishwamohini will certainly choose me. Please grant me the most beautiful appearance. Didn't you defeat love just the last time we spoke? And now you are wanting a special boon to win a bride? Okay, I grant you the boon. You will have the most distinctive appearance of all the suitors at the Swayamvara. So saying, Vishnu turned Narada into a monkey. Narada was sure he was the most handsome man, and most confidently he strode into the Swayamvara. He was sure that the princess would choose him. After all, he did receive the boon from the Lord of the universe. The princess took the wedding garland in her hands and began to walk around the room. All of the kings and princes began to beckon her in their hearts. Narada sat up straight and tall, so proud of the beauty with which he had been blessed, sure that the princess would choose him. The princess came before him, and much to Narada's surprise, she turned her eyes away in disgust and walked on to choose another. Narada was stunned with amazement. How could she have passed me up? Certainly I am the most beautiful man present. Who else has received Vishnu's blessings? Just then he heard two servants of Lord Shiva laughing behind him. How could that monkey hope to be chosen as a suitable bridegroom? They laughed. What monkey? Questioned Narada somewhat doubtfully. They laughed even harder. You monkey, don't you know what you look like? Go look at yourself in a mirror. Narada rushed outside and ran to see his reflection in the pond. Anger pulsed through his veins when he realized Vishnu's trick. He picked up some water in the palm of his hand and he held it aloft. So you want to humble my pride by making me a fool? Vishnu, I curse you, as you have made me bereft of my wife today. You too will know the pain of separation from your wife. As you have made a fool of me by making me look like a monkey, you will have to seek the assistance of monkeys in achieving your purpose, and monkeys will become your best friends. Accepting Narada's curse, Vishnu withdrew his Maya. When Narada realized that he had been the victim of Maya, he was filled with remorse. Vishnu, however, reassured him, and Narada left for the Satyaloka praising God. And now the story of Rama. In days of old, when Swayambhuva Manu had reached his fourth stage of life, he and his wife Satyarupa went to the forest to practice austerities. They performed severe disciplines for a long period of time, whereupon Lord Vishnu was pleased with them. He appeared before them and instructed them to ask a boon. And they requested the Lord to incarnate on this earth as their son, and the Lord agreed. In his next life, Swayambhuva Manu incarnated as Kashyap Muni, the father of creation, and his wife Saptarupa became Aditi, the mother of the gods. From the god of the sun through the generations of Ikshvaku, the kings of the solar dynasty reigned in Ayodhya. Bhagirath's son was Raghu, the king of Ayodhya, for whom the family of Raghu is named. Raghu's son was Amrisha, and Amrisha's son was Ajal. And then Dasarath followed as the king of Ayodhya. Dasarath was the incarnation of Swayambhuva Manu, and his first wife Kaushalya, the manifestation of Saptarupa. Meanwhile, all creation was praying for the Lord to take birth in order to rid the world of evil. The gods went to Vaikuntha and prayed for Lord Vishnu to manifest. They reminded the Lord of the worlds of Bhrigu Muni's words. Vishnu, I curse you again and again whenever righteousness recedes before unrighteousness on this earth. Whenever Dharma becomes weak while Adharma is strong, then you will have to incarnate in the womb of a woman to be born upon this earth, to fight with the forces of iniquity and once again establish the standards of morality and piety by which humanity is distinguished from the other animals. Lord, we are extremely pained by the behavior of Ravan. The earth can no longer bear his burden of sin. Ravan has won the boon that he is invincible to all except men and apes. You had promised Swayambhuva Manu and his wife Saptarupa that you will become their son. They have already taken birth as the king of Ayodhya, Dasharatha, and his wife Kausalya. You please take birth as their son, while we gods will assume the forms of monkeys and bears in order to help you in your divine task. Lord Vishnu agreed, and all the gods prepared to assist him in their various roles. Let's stop here and see if we have any questions. Please.
This is about the story of Bali and Vaman Avatar.
Yes.
When householders perform fire sacrifices, usually they give gifts to the Brahmins who perform these sacrifices.
Yes.
And I think it helps make the sacrifice complete.
Yes. Without dakshina, yajna is not complete. In fact, dakshina is the wife of yajna, just as swaha is the wife of agni. So agni is not complete without swaha, and yajna is not complete without dakshina.
So when people perform sacrifices in their home or in an ashram and there are no Brahmins around,
yes,
what happens then?
They should take an offering and put it aside, and after their religious performance is complete, they will save that offering to make as a donation to a temple, or as a donation to a sadhu, or as a donation in some way to be utilized in the furtherance of Dharma. That would be the most important thing. Srima tells in her new book about her grandmother who used to take a handful of rice every day and put it into a container, and thereafter, when the festival days would come, she would take the rice from that container and cook it and serve it to everyone in the community. There are many traditions of just putting a coin as dakshina on your altar. Every day you make puja and then taking all those coins on the day of the festival and make them as dan and give them to those who need. So yes, without dakshina, yajna is not complete, and that offering should be made.
Question from Kumari from Bali.
Yes, please.
How could Bali be devoted to dharma and truth, which lead one to oneness, and also be an asura, which creates division?
Kumari Mam Namaste, there are many amongst the asuras who were very dharmic. For example, we read the story of Prahlad and the destruction of Hiranyakashipu. We see Bali as another example. Bibhishan is another example. You see, there are forces of individuality and forces of division, those are asuras, who also want to be dharmic and truthful and honest and to unite their community. Not necessarily with the objectivity, the universality of the Vedic rishis to unite the universe, but at least they were standing up on behalf of their community. They were asuras, and they were also very dharmic asuras that told people they were devotees of Vishnu. They were devotees of God. So it's possible that some of the asuras were both asuras and devotees.
Question from Parvati from Sacramento.
Namaste, Parvati Ma.
Swamiji, can you please elaborate on the washing of the feet? I'm sure the meaning may have many levels. Thank you.
Yes, Parvati Ma, it is a custom to demonstrate our respect to those whom we really admire by washing their feet when they come to our home. And you know what? It was a tradition among sadhus, whenever you enter into an ashram, you wash your feet before you enter in, because those are sacred grounds, and it's a sacred space, and your feet have been walking on the earth, and they've been crossing so many unsacred spaces. So now we wash off the worldliness and enter into the sanctity. And that's the meaning. Now when we really respect someone else, we wash their feet. And if we want to go a step further, we take the water and either sip it or put it on our heads as a demonstration of the dust from the lowest part of you is the ornament on the highest part of me. And that means I humble myself before you, because the law of gravity makes blessings to flow down. The gravity never makes blessings flow up. So as much as we humble ourselves before those whom we respect, then so much is the blessing that we receive. And even the very act of humbling ourselves gives a blessing. So that's why we wash the feet. And in our pujas of worship, we wash the feet with 5 nectars, with milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, and sugar. The milk stands for the Kshira Samudra, the infinite ocean of consciousness. And the yogurt stands for the congealed consciousness, the manifestation of consciousness. It's no longer infinite, it's finite, it's manifested. The ghee is illumination, and I have just illuminated the finite within the infinite expanse of consciousness. And the honey and the sugar stand for the nourishment and the sweetness. And these 5 nectars, Payo Dadi Kritam Cheva Maducha Shakarayutam Panchamritam Mayadatam Grihanitam Sureshwari. These 5 nectars are mixed together, and I drink this. I wash your feet with this, and I drink that liquid, because that's the blessing that I wish to receive from you. That's the Panchamrita Snan that we take as prasad after the puja is complete.
Sadhuma from North Carolina. Swamiji, Shakti. Tonight there were cries to get Shiva to dampen the power of Ganga so that it could not be destructive. In the Chandi, the gods called on Durga to do what they could not. Yet, there is so much abuse of the female. Is this out of fear of her power or Shakti? How does the earth achieve balance of male and female? How do we as sadhaks? Thank you.
Namaste Sadhuma in Lolita Trishakti. The famous verse says, Shiva and Shakti revolve around each other mutually and reciprocally. And now this is how we will achieve balance. No, it wasn't only a fear that the gods prayed to the goddess. It was also from love and devotion. They realized that without Shiva, Shakti has no consciousness. And without Shakti, Shiva has no energy. And the two of them are intrinsically connected in every activity. Now, what tradition did with that concept during the annals of history, Sadhuma, this is something subject to another interpretation. There are just so many different civilizations and cultures that practice patriarchy or matriarchy, and they're both extremes. We in the Devi Mandir are of the Shiva Shakti tradition, and we are looking for a mutual reciprocal relationship, the balance and harmony of all the powers of spirituality. We are the children of both mother and father, and as such we want to be good children. We want to be in harmony and in balance and not lose our center. So regardless of what happened in history in this culture or that culture, we in the Satya Yuga, in the Devi Mandir, in the Satya Lok, we have our own perception and our own practice. And that is equality and balance and mutual respect, working together to achieve mutually defined goals.
And Reddy from New Jersey. Namaste Swamiji. It appears that Lord Vishnu, in the form of the Vaman Avatar, tricked King Bali. He asked for a piece of land, only 3 steps large, but when he was given the boon, he actually took 3 very giant steps. What are we to learn from this apparent deceptive act?
Be careful what you wish for, because you may get it. And also consider before you grant a boon, what is the boon that you're supposed to be granting? And please define very clearly what is expected of you in every relationship, because we don't want to have any misunderstanding afterwards. Wendy, I love my friends so much that I would hate to jeopardize that relationship because of a misunderstanding. And when you thought that you were going to get something from me that I didn't think I was going to give, either you will be disappointed or I will be imposed upon. So let us all be very careful to guard those relationships extremely judiciously and define what are the rights and obligations of the parties. What's expected of us when we're asking a boon or when we're going to grant the boon. Of course, I asked Sri Ma for a boon several years ago, and I asked her to stay with her body. And I made her promise before I told her what it was. And she did, so I tricked her too. And you see, I tricked her somewhat successfully because she's still here.
Thank you, Swami. Sadhana from North Kenya, can you talk about what happens when people get angry with God or goddesses and how to treat this?
When you get angry with gods and goddesses.
She's asking from the Narada Muni story. Narada Muni, he got angry with Lord Vishnu and gave him a curse.
Yes, Vishnu actually said, Narada, I had defined that I had to come down as Ram anyway. So you were the instrument of causing me to take that incarnation. It was already predetermined. So Narada wasn't really changing the behavior. He became the instrument of Vishnu's behavior. And generally when we get angry with God, we're often saying to God, hey, we're not pleased with the circumstances you have defined for us. We're rebelling. And now instead of rebelling, we want to acquiesce. We want to surrender. Our objective is renunciation. And that inspiration that we get from reading this story of Narada Muni, how Narada felt so badly that he had cursed the Lord to become an avatar on the earth. Well, actually, Bhrigu Muni had cursed the Lord far prior to Ram, so that Narada was merely the instrument of Vishnu's karma. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.